Hello, my name is Sam Froese, and this is my story driven narrative presentation. We begin this story many years ago when I was 14. My family had traveled to Ecuador on a mission trip to support some missionaries that our church helped sponsor. There, my dad and I helped set up some of their Wi Fi networks, as well as the rest of our group clean up some of the local church members' houses and other odds and ends around the community. But outside of being a gopher for my dad, go for this, go for that, I had not really done anything exceptional for this mission trip. In fact, I was beginning to grow bored in this country. I had expected adventure and excitement. I had heard tales of harrowing danger and threat, of missionaries who traversed jungles and war zones in order to share the gospel valiantly with people in great need. These were the types of stories that had inspired me to join in this trip. I had hoped that when I went to another country, I too could share the gospel in these extravagant ways. Instead, all I had experienced was some board meetings, long discussions, and menial tasks. And in my mind, it was a lot of wasted time and seemingly pointless work. I mean, the scenery was great, rolling hills and deep countryside stretching onward all around me, bustling streets of Ecuadorians selling merchandise, as well as strange looking houses dotting the landscape. But we were certainly in a much poorer area, and so the glamour had quickly fallen off for me. And I, being an adventurous 14-year-old, needed more. On this particular day, our group had spent the morning making some sandwiches. Nothing too complex, just some ham and cheese, along with these things called Mexican Cokes. We had bundled these items together to make a barely substantial meal, something that I could honestly eat in a flash. I had not really paid much attention to the details that morning, as we had left our dinky little house, and instead of driving up to one of the cool mountains that I saw off in the distance, or readying to battle ideologies in the streets, our little party was going to a dumpster place. A dumpster dump. I could not honestly think of a worse place to spend my time. I let out a groan internally, feeling like this was going to be another pointless venture. I mean, who wants to go to another country just to see what sort of trash they have, as well as smell it? Hours have gone by in this bus, and my eyes lazily trace one of the far mountain tops. In my mind, my imagination has our group slowly climbing its peak and discovering a hidden village there, one that was tucked away and forgotten by the world. That was until we came along and shared the gospel with them. We then establish a strong foundation and relationship. We're able to lead many of their leaders to Christ and can see the work of the Holy Spirit immediately open their hearts and lives to the gospel. Instead, our bus arrives at the top of a hill, not even the highest one around, and announces our presence with a rickety hiss. Our group ambles out, and I awkwardly scramble to balance the bags of food and drink in my hands. My imagination of curious locals desiring transformation is immediately shattered by the reality of these garbage heaps before me. I see a huge bulldozer moving back and forth, pushing lines of trash over the edge. I also see a bunch of heads of people digging through the trash. Worst of all, it stinks to the high heavens. Think rotting eggs, spoiled milk, and fermented fish, and whatever else awful smell you can imagine, all tossed together in a blender, shaken up, and then splashed in your face. I nearly puked as soon as I was hit with this terrible stench. In fact, I can still honestly remember it even today. And my reaction back then was just as strong. I double over, holding my stomach as I try not to revisit my breakfast onto the dirt ground below me. I mean, that would have been an embarrassing moment on my part. I was also not the only person who had this type of reaction. Quite a few people threw up in their mouths. It was like a wave of disgust rolling through our entire group. Getting control of my senses and plugging my nose, I look around for anything decent to look at. Nothing at all. Our group sort of stands awkwardly watching as these people work. Our leader pipes up and explains to us that these people spend all day sifting through trash, looking for anything valuable before it would be pushed off over the edge. I shake my head and let out a puff of disbelief. All day, I mutter to myself, what a horrible life. Our leader goes on to say that these people don't usually eat much, as anything they bring usually is stolen, or they honestly cannot afford many meals to begin with. So, instead, to be gracious, we had brought them something to eat. However, before he begins giving us some more information and instruction, he gets interrupted as the people start yelling and screaming, waving their hands at the bulldozer to stop pushing a lane. We all watch in confusion as the noise halts and a head pops out of the pile just as it is about to go over the edge. A tiny Ecuadorian lady crawls out of the heap, dusts herself off, and gives a toothy grin to her compatriots. At this point, quite a few workers had noticed us, and a call rings out for what I assume to be a break. Then the rest of them spot us, and now there's a mad scramble towards us. Make sure to shake their hands, says our leader, as he begins distributing the food. I shuffle the pack of food into my left hand and tentatively reach out with my right to grip the first Ecuadorian that comes to me. He smells even worse up close as he sheepishly approaches. He doesn't meet my eyes. Instead, he looks down and reaches out his hand for the food. Pity is what he is expecting, but sympathy was my own outreached arm that I offer as I grip his. He looks up at me, and I give him a smile, and the best handshake you can give when you're 14, before handing over the food. My mind changed that day, as maybe missionary work isn't always about navigating the unknown or facing the demonic threats that may have poisoned a tribe. Rather, it could be as simple as recognizing another human being worthy of a handshake. I like to tell this story to many people who have high hopes for the mission field. They too probably share my imagination and enthusiasm for adventure and excitement, believing themselves to be like Paul in his mission trips. But missionary work isn't always glamorous or invigorating. It really can be just as simple, tedious work that seemingly gives next to no benefit. Anyone could have done what I did. So, what made me special in that circumstance? Ultimately, we need to serve in ways that God has set before us, whether that is digging holes with a shovel for hours, painting walls for a nursery, or shaking hands with dumpster divers. It's often the unsung actions that we do which strangely offer us the greatest joys. The Lord sees us in every duty that we do, for we should do it all for the glory of God. So maybe consider going on a mission trip, or reconsider the importance of doing an easy chore like tossing out the trash. Thank you.